Hey there, film buds. This is now part two of the Slasher episode. If you haven't already, go back and check out part one. But for a little recap, in part one we covered Halloween, Friday the 13th, and A Nightmare on Elm Street. And now we're moving into, those were like the late 70s and 80s, and now we're moving into the late 90s with Scream and Candyman. The first Candyman you can actually go and listen to our previous review of. We won't really be talking about that one too much here. We're kind of actually going to start up with Candyman 2, uh, Farewell to the Flesh, and pick up from there. So we hope that you enjoy this. We're joined during our Scream discussion by Sky and Sky Tilley. And as always, we have a clip, so take a listen.
Hello?
Hello.
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
The Scream franchise began in 1996 with Scream by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. And the premise is a year after the murder of her mother, a teenage girl is terrorized by a new killer who targets the girl and her friends by using horror films as part of a deadly game. And the film stars Neve Campbell as Sydney, our final girl, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Skeet Ulrich, Drew Barrymore, and Roger Jackson as the infamous phone voice. We also have Dear Matthew Lillard. I forgot about Shaggy. It's because he was down low on the list. And Jamie Kennedy and Rose McGowan. Jamie Kennedy. Oh, woof. And I'll probably introduce. I'll cut this bit out. I'll probably introduce the clip beforehand because we'll probably do like a little intro bit beforehand.
Yeah.
But that's the main cast of Scream, and that's the premise of Scream. And since we have our de facto expert here with us, the man who wrote a whole paper on why Scream is the best horror film of all time.
My professor did not agree with me, but yeah, I mean, I stand by it. I stand by it.
Do you want to kick it off?
Yeah. So, you said it. It was 1996. I watched it when I was 7. So that tells you how old I was because I watched it when it came out. And growing up on horror films like The Howling, the Halloween franchise, Nightmare on Elm Street films. I think Nightmare on Elm Street 1 was probably the first horror film I ever watched. So I was familiar with Wes Craven and like all these big horror directors that I put on like the horror Mount Rushmore of people. And there was something about this movie, and I think it's just 90s teen horror in general that I just love so much. Films like The Faculty and Scream and even Urban Legend. There's just something about them that hits really well for me. And I think it really is just how campy they are and how self-aware. And for Scream, it really became like the first film to ever become self-aware. Like they made you aware that, oh, by the way, we know that we're a horror film. We're going to riff on all these other horror films, even the films that Wes Craven has made. But I mean, you grow to really love these characters because they're all charming. They're all archetypes to an extent, but there's just something about them that you just want to spend 90 minutes with. And yeah, I mean, for me, I really do believe it's a perfect horror film.
No, yeah, for sure. So I ended up, I was like hanging around one night with my sister and I was like just looking at a list of like the greatest phone calls in movies.
Mhm.
And it was the Drew Barrymore opening phone call. And we started watching the scene, and we got like midway through it, and we were like, we got to just watch the whole movie. Like, we just got to go. And so we ended up going and renting it, like digitally or finding it online or something. And we just started sitting down that night, and we ended up watching Scream, because that first scene is just one of the most gripping openings for a movie ever.
Yeah.
Fantastically executed. Um, and yeah, this movie is very much aware. Wes Craven has always been sort of self-referential. When I went back and saw like Deadly Blessing, I saw where he like first toys around with the sort of, something coming up in the water between the legs, sort of shot. So he's always been someone who's willing to go back and beg, borrow, and steal from himself.
Yeah.
And so it's great that he sort of takes the whole genre that he obviously loves and has also helped shape, and been like, I helped make some of this genre. I can go in and kind of make this bigger, better, faster, stronger, leaner version of it. And it's lightning in a bottle, because it's excellently cast. It came out at the right time. No, I really enjoyed this movie quite a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right though. I mean, that opening scene of Drew Barrymore, who you think, even today, you would think, oh my God, this is the leading lady right here. This is the person we're going to be following, and to kill off your top billed person so quickly within like 10 minutes. It was very bold, but of course it was also borrowed, because we have seen that with like Psycho, right? Like they killed off the top billed actress. And of course the phone call itself was When a Stranger Calls. So I mean, he's definitely borrowing, but he's doing something that felt very fresh somehow. And I think it was because they're talking about horror films. What is your favorite horror film? And even the whole self-referencing referencing of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. Oh, I love the first one, but the rest sucked, is what she said. And like, that is just very clever, to make us feel like we're part of her life. We're friends with her because we can agree. Like, yes, most of the rest of the Nightmare on Elm Street films were not great. So I think, you're right. And it also sets the tone that this is going to be a comedy. And then when the horror hits, you're like, oh, this is going to be very brutal, and anyone is capable of dying in this movie. Don't get too attached to these characters, because if we can kill Drew Barrymore in 10 minutes, we can kill anybody.
Yeah.
No, I really had a blast watching this movie. I was hooked on the franchise, honestly, from this moment on, and that's how we ended up kind of binging the whole thing. So we were just gonna watch the firsts of all of these slasher movies. And then because of watching all of Scream, because of me, we then were like, well, I guess we should watch more of the other ones too. And then the whole rabbit hole got, bigger and bigger around us. But no, I had a blast with this movie. I loved the humor of it. I honestly, I love the 90s feel of this movie. It's great. It kept me guessing the entire time, which is fun, because a lot of these movies did not. And no, it just, in the twist ending like had me. I was like, oh shit. The whole time, which is great. I love the fact that they talk about the movies, because it really did feel kind of homey. Like, these are your friends, these are conversations that we talk like all the time. Him being like, oh, Jamie Lee, watch out behind you, and it's literally being mirrored in the frame. I was just like, this is perfect. This is a perfect film.
Yeah, exactly. And talking about the twist ending, I mean, it was the first time, I think, that there were two villains, like two killers on the loose. So that really threw a wrench into the whole formula. There's not one killer, there's two. Oh, and guess what? It was people that you really cared about and you laughed with. Like, everybody loves Matthew Lillard. Even before he was Shaggy, people were like, oh my God, this guy is so funny. He's so good. And to make him a killer was just brilliant.
I mean, honestly, they Scooby-Dooed us in a real sense, because it's kind of like one of those old Scooby-Doo shows or something. How are they doing all of this mysterious stuff? How do we not know who it is? Well, it's because, like, in this case, it was two people You were never expecting that. So that was always, they always had a backup. They always had a cover. Perfect.
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I lost my train of thought.
Oh. No, it also does such a great job of also, once you find out who the killers are and you go back and you rewatch the movie, it becomes so obvious, you know, that was the answer the whole time.
Mhm.
You know, whereas, and we'll talk more about it later when we get more into the sequels, which we'll probably just talk about like in a batch. But like with the later ones, sometimes you don't get that same feeling of like, did it have to be you? It feels like they wrote, especially I think with like, you know, early reaction, especially with Scream 2. I felt like they wrote that script with like, and the killer could be anyone. And that's how it feels the whole time, but not in like the satisfying way of this one, where like it feels like it could be anyone, but then you go back and you're like, oh well, it was destined to be these people, you know.
No, yeah, they've been hinting at it the entire time, and we just didn't know because we were too busy going on the ride for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, and now that you know who they are, the fun I think now is going back and figuring out, well, who killed who? You know, like who was who? That's what I want to know. And yeah, I think that's the brilliance of it, is you have that so much rewatchability because you can go back and analyze it and be like, well, that was probably Billy. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe that one was Stu. Who knows?
Yeah, do they have like tells? Do they have different, you know, ways of doing it?
Yeah, the only one that I think I know for sure is that Stu was in the bathroom with Sydney in the high school because Billy runs into her immediately afterward. And I'm like, yep, that's the only one I know.
Yeah.
Have to figure out their blocking through the whole movie, gotta write it down, you know.
Do they move differently? I don't know.
Or did they specifically go and try and like, you know, find just like a uniform way to move?
No, yeah. Or are there times when they're both in the costume, so that way when like one person is running one way, the other person is running the other way, and so like you don't know which Scream you're watching.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Great. And the voice is iconic. That's the other thing. Like the voice could have sounded stupid.
Yeah.
And the voice on the phone does absolutely nail it.
He still nails it. Like he's still got the voice. It's crazy. And to think that he's Mojo Jojo from Powerpuff Girls is just insane to me too. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's great. Love that. Yeah. Everything's full circles, man.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's if you had to, I think that for me, Scream is that movie that like if you had to tell anyone to watch just one, it would either be pretty much like Halloween or it would be Scream. Like if anyone was like, I really just need to, I'm only going to watch one slasher, I would sit and I would think about it and I would be like, it's a toss up between Halloween and Scream for me.
So, I mean, I think that's fair. I think Halloween does a lot with very limited resources, right? Like there's no blood in that movie. It's crazy. You know, your mind just assumes that there's blood, but really, if I'm not mistaken, there really isn't any blood.
No.
You know, and the script itself isn't that great because it didn't have to be. It did something, you know, it just it was a fun ride. And it still holds up today, but I think if you were going to introduce a person to a horror film or even just suggest watching a horror film, you'd have to go more modern. And I think that's the thing with Scream, is that it holds up today. I'm not saying that Halloween doesn't hold up today, but I think some audiences could be bored because they're like, oh, well, I've seen this before. Like, how many times is Michael Myers going to hide behind that bush?
Yeah.
You know, like, how did he learn to drive? There's too many unanswered questions. And I think, you know, with Scream, it's just, you're going to enjoy it, even if you don't know these references, and even if you don't know what this kind of computer is or a landline phone, you can still make those connections.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And you can really put yourself in that situation regardless of technological advances, you know. what would it be like to constantly be harassed by somebody on the phone, by somebody who starts out in one frame of mind and then turns on you out of nowhere, you know, and then it does get serious, and then you do panic, and what happens then? You know,
Right.
it's great. It's a great film, and like honestly, you could walk that line of him being too chatty, but I think that he hits that nice amount of like sweet and then sour, like a perfectly timed every time.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So I do want to talk real quick about like how the decline of the horror genre was happening in the early to mid 90s. The horror genre, for the most part, was dead. It was gone because of sequels and sequels and sequels. You know, how many more times do we need a Nightmare on Elm Street sequel? How many more times do we need a Friday the 13th sequel? We don't need them. So when films like Silence of the Lambs came out, and Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, it kind of reinvigorated the horror genre, but it didn't really, you know, give you like that big lifeline, right? Like it was still like, oh, there's still some life here. And then when Scream came out, they were like, it's back. We are back online, and we're good to go. So I really believe that Scream is the reason that we still celebrate horror today, because if that movie hadn't have came out, we wouldn't have had all these other 90s films like Halloween H2O, which I adore. I think it's one of my favorite Halloween films, and The Faculty with Robert Rodriguez, which also was a Kevin Williamson script. Kevin Williamson really brought life to this dying genre. And I truly believe that without Scream, we wouldn't be as where we are today without it.
No, yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for bringing that little history lesson.
Oh yeah.
And I can definitely, like, having gone down, you know, the rabbit hole of all of these slasher films, it becomes exhausting. Like it truly becomes at a certain point difficult.
Who was going to theaters to see those movies anymore? Who was paying money to go see these horror villains who weren't icons at the time? They weren't. They're icons now, but they were just like, oh, it's another Freddy movie. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I have nothing else to do.
I guess I'll go watch these characters who I don't really care about die.
Yeah.
I don't know.
These characters that the movie clearly doesn't care about, and doesn't really, I think, want me to care about either. And that's something that I talk about in I've been working on that write-up about like Halloween Kills and people's response to it. And like one thing that I've definitely noticed, and I noticed it, and I make a note of it in Halloween Kills, is that like this, about like Halloween 2, is that the sequels start to become so much more about not like the catharsis of survival, but about the sort of like, you know, sick enjoyment of the kills, and also about expanding the mythos of like who the killer is or isn't. And that really starts to bog down the films because they progressively become less horrific as like a result of that.
Yeah, I think, you know, adding on to that, when writers realized we can make our audience care about our characters before they die, that's going to be pretty powerful. If we make these characters actually realized instead of just these hollow stand-ins who can be replaced by anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like that just transformed the horror genre.
Yeah, and for an example to the listener, so Friday the 13th Part 2 comes out in 81, and then by the time you hit
and Friday the 13th 1 was in 80.
Yeah.
So they were pumping these things out like crazy.
And so by the time that you then get to 1993 is when you're finally getting to the 9th film in the franchise, Jason Goes to Hell. And so, you know, they were absolutely just going. There was a term that I discovered when I was looking at the history of Mexican cinema and that sort of thing at a time, and there were these films that they said kind of clogged up and helped lead to the downfall of the film industry, and they were referred to as churros. Disposable, fun, tasty, but like absolutely no health value, you know, and most of the horror sequels are like that. And so it makes sense that then something like Scream could come along and be like, well, what if I took like some of the best ideas that these things had? Because there
Mhm.
are some good ideas in these movies.
Mhm.
And it's literally like, let me just take some of these best ideas and do something better with all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And to have someone like Wes Craven do it, who was a part of this destruction of the
Mhm.
horror genre, to come back and kind of save it, I think is just even more brilliant.
And
And
that
for him to
honestly,
acknowledge that it did happen.
yeah. And that's probably also what saved a lot of his legacy as well, on a certain level.
Yeah, I mean, it really brought his career back on track because, I mean,
Mhm.
the last film that I think he did before this, and I could be wrong, let's see, New Nightmare came out, was it a year before Scream? Was it 95 or 94? I don't remember.
New 94.
94.
Mm-hmm.
So he was already kind of like starting on that track, right? Especially with like the self-awareness. And he was kind of discussing how in that movie, the sequels weren't really that great and really only referencing the first film, So it's very interesting, I think, when you have a director do that. And I think
Yeah.
he did it so well.
No, yeah, he had done a movie called The Serpent and the Rainbow, a movie called Shocker,
Yep.
The People Under the Stairs, then New Nightmare, then Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah, starring Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
Oh
starring Eddie Murphy and
my
Angela
gosh.
Bassett. Yeah.
Wow, wow, that is a look. The
It's a
widow's
wild
peak,
movie.
the hair. Ooh.
It
Oh
is
my God.
wild.
Yeah, and so
You thought the Jerry curl's bad, ladies and
like
gentlemen.
you
Get
want to talk
ready.
about it, honestly, I think that if Wes Craven had done another thing after Vampire in Brooklyn that was another dud like that, he'd be in director's jail forever. Like he needed his out. He needed his chef.
He needed a
And
hit.
Scream
Yeah.
is this. Yeah.
And the thing is, like when you have like, if you were to say the same thing about John Carpenter, for instance, I mean, he was struggling. He did Escape from LA, which was critically panned and audiences hated it. He did Vampires, which I love because I think it's a silly, fun ride with James Woods just going around staking vampires. I think it's hilarious. Don't know if it's meant to be a comedy, but I think it's funny.
James Woods in it. I think it is meant to be a comedy.
Right. Yeah. And, I mean, if you look at him, he really wasn't suffering nearly as bad. I don't know why. I can't really put a finger on it. And I guess it was because he was doing less than I think Wes Craven. I think Wes Craven was just putting out so many movies and people just weren't watching them. I remember People Under the Stairs, but I can't tell you anything about it except that there were people under some stairs. Maybe.
Except for what the title promises.
So we're just talking about the Harry Potter movies, right? Some people under some stairs.
Yeah.
But no, I think that Scream is tremendous, and then I do, even though I think that the sequels have like diminishing returns to a certain degree, I do love that all three of the sequels were still directed by him, because it was nice to see him take one of these genres and be the director that stuck with it for such a prolonged period. Because John Carpenter was like, and I'm out after the first one.
Well, he did 1 and 2, John Carpenter.
He didn't direct 2. He
wrote it
2.
though. Yeah, with Deborah Hill.
I think it was directed by Rick Rosenthal.
Yep.
Who also directed Halloween Resurrection.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
He came back for both of the Halloween sequels on a certain level,
I will never watch Halloween Resurrection again. It's
I think
forever
you really should.
marked. No.
It's a lot of fun.
Nope.
Steer into the skid.
Nope. I love Buster Rhymes, don't get me wrong, but if he's going to kill Michael Myers, I'm out. I'm out. I got to be gone. I have to take a step back.
No, it's something. But no, I think Scream is incredible. And then we can talk about the sequel sort of in a lump. But out of 5, Sky, what would you give Scream?
5.
There we go. Dear?
5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's a 5 for me. It's a perfect film.
It's great. It's so much fun. This is a movie that I'm definitely gonna just like go back to just whenever I fucking feel like it. Honestly, like it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's honestly timeless.
You
It's
know,
just as easy as that.
and I love too the whole thing with, if you ask a writer, why is your antagonist doing what they're doing? And I think it's Billy at the end. He's like, they're always looking for a motive, but sometimes there doesn't have to be a motive. And clearly he has a motive, but Stu is more of like, I'm just here. I'm
Yeah.
just along for the ride. I got my
Yeah.
friend here. He's dragging me through this. But for the most part, the reasoning for why they're doing what they're doing, for Billy to be affected so personally, with his dad, and then his mom, who we don't even see until the sequel, that laid the groundwork for the sequels,
Mhm.
which I think is fascinating. I don't even know if it was intended to be that way. I don't know if Kevin Williamson wrote this with the intent of writing sequels. I think he probably had an idea where he could go, but he left that little nugget there for Scream 2, which I think is really cool.
If I'm not mistaken, I was reading some interviews with some of the Scream cast regarding like their return for this new Scream and why they came back for some of the other ones. And they were saying that like the studio was really wanting Scream 2 and they wanted it very, very quickly after the success of Scream 1.
Within 2 years. Yeah.
And so it was a very pressurized thing, and he very much apparently felt under the gun. And I feel like there's a sort of underlying assumption that like he's maybe not always thrilled with what the outcomes were. But apparently the reason that everyone kept coming back was also because of him. So, and because he kept coming back.
Kevin Williamson.
Him and Wes Craven both.
I mean, how do you say no to Wes Craven? I can't imagine him saying, "Hey, I want you for this new movie I'm doing," and then saying no. I just couldn't imagine being in that position, But yeah, I mean, if you have Kevin Williamson's writing and Wes Craven, who is arguably at the peak of his career, yeah, I mean, it's a great combination.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the sequels. So essentially the sequels are as follows in quick order. Scream 2 is Sidney Prescott goes to college, gets terrorized by Ghostface in college. Is it her boyfriend? Is it her friends? Who knows? Scream 3 is Sidney Prescott goes to LA to discover the truth of her mother, and discovers that there was a dark side to LA that impacted her life directly, that is also responsible for the killer's motivation. And then Scream 4 is Sidney Prescott is now a professional adult, like self-help author who is now on a book tour kind of thing, who's using her trauma as like a story of survival and perseverance. And she gets terrorized in her hometown once more. So all of the films follow Sidney Prescott. They all have Wes Craven as the director. They all have Nev Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox as like the principal three across all of them. And we'll just sort of discuss them in a batch. What are your thoughts on the Scream sequels?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they just diminishing results, I think, is what you used. And
Yeah.
I agree. The second one I really enjoy. I'm a big Timothy Oliphant fan, so every time I go back and watch it, I'm just like, he's so good and everything. And the clues that are there with him in that movie, if you go back and watch it, he's always carrying around a video camera, and he's always Ghostface is always showing them footage of themselves walking around campus. And I'm like, oh, well, there's your big clue that he was this, killer all along. For me, it's the best sequel that they have in the series. It's very silly at times, but to kill Randy the way that they did,
Yeah.
who was supposed to die in the first one, and then they saved him because of the audience reaction to it, I thought was great. And it also continued to show, by the way, we can kill anyone we want, even fan favorite characters like that. It's definitely the best sequel. And then the third one, I remember I was watching it. I hadn't seen it in a while. And I was like, wow, they're really getting into the whole stab series. They're really getting super meta with this, but also in turn getting convoluted, and I started to lose a little bit of interest. And then the fourth one, I was watching it in theaters and I was like, don't know how this happened. Don't know how we got to where we are, but something happened. We took a detour and we ended up somewhere that I don't want to be. I need to go back and watch it again, but I just remember being very disappointed and very frustrated with Scream 4. I honestly can't tell you too much about Scream 4.
Okay. Dear?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I'm laughing because of the fact that was we like talked through them really quick this morning to like refresh for the show, and I remember almost verbatim saying the exact same thing, being like, I don't remember Scream 4 at all.
It doesn't leave an impression. It didn't leave an impression for me.
And all I took away was the fact that like Emma Roberts is in it, and that was also a disappointing thing for me as well. Just like.
And Anna Paquin is in it, and Kristen Bell, I think.
Yeah.
Anna,
It has that it's got like the like triple blind or the double blind opening Scream 4 does, where it starts out and it's like, two people and one of them, gets killed, and then it's people watching the stab movies, and then she turns and stabs the other one, and it's Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell. And then we come out of it and it was teenagers watching a stab movie that was like commenting on it. It's like the whole...
You saying it makes me remember that I checked out as soon as that happened. You can't do that to me. It's like opening with a dream sequence. I'm out. You can't do it.
So that's how Scream 4 opens.
Oh, buddy.
And honestly, like, I remember bits and spurts of this movie, and like with us talking through it helped me remember more. But also, like, yeah, I do remember kind of like checking out a little bit in this movie, and that's unfortunate. That's really sad. I liked, I guess, the twist of it, but I guess I really wanted them to kind of get away from the whole "it's about Sidney Prescott" thing by this point, and they were like, no, double down, it's another family member.
Yeah, and I think
surprise sibling wasn't enough. It's a cousin this time. Everybody's crazy.
It became something that Scream rebelled against, and that was stagnant sequels, and it became that, which is very awful in a sense, because it is one of the more forgettable films. It was the more frustrating film, and it's the film that you get checked out, which was what was happening in all the sequels from the 80s and the early 90s. It's wild. It is wild how broken the franchise became. And I think the reason for it is, how many times can you have Sidney Prescott live?
Yeah.
Why don't we just hit the reset button? We're on Scream 4. I don't understand why these characters didn't die.
She doesn't get like any more advanced as a character. Like, if this kept happening to me, you better believe that I would have like learned a martial art by this point. I would be like the gun master. She just falls into accidents again, and I'm like, damn it, Sydney.
Yeah.
How are your wits not better by now?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you're right. Is if you're going to have a character like Sidney Prescott be your protagonist, and she's going to continue on this arc, she stopped. She hasn't been growing anymore. She's just the same character, and that's a problem. So I
Yeah,
think you're
'cause
right.
you look at like whenever they have brought back Laurie Strode, whether it be like age 20, where they bring her back later, you know, she's changed her name, she has tried starting her life over, she has a son, you know, she has a drinking problem. Like there's some interesting things going on. And same with Halloween 2018, you know, we advance it forward and she's now this like, you know, ultimate survivor kook who
Yeah.
goes out and constantly just for her own need does target practice and checks all the traps and makes sure that everything is all prepped for, you know, what
Yep.
she considers the inevitable return.
And still has a drinking problem.
Yeah, and has this anxiety issue and is agoraphobic. And so like they always, whenever they bring back Laurie, they always use it to be impactful.
Yeah. My dog has a squeak toy, so if you hear squeaking, she just got up and has taken a squeak toy.
Gotcha. So the Scream sequels, I really enjoy all of them for different reasons. I actually don't think that I dislike any Scream sequel as much as I dislike some of the like Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th. Every Scream sequel is still better than
Yes.
the worst of any of those. So at least it has that going for it.
I will watch Scream 4 400 times before I watch Freddy is Dead or Freddy's Dead ever again.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's fair. That's a pretty unwatchable one of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I really enjoy Scream 2 a lot. I think that it does some really great things. I feel like it almost picked on a certain level the least interesting options of who the killers could be.
Which one?
Scream 2.
Oh.
She and I were talking because her thought the entire time that we were watching Scream 2 was like, it's these weird sorority girls. And I was like, oh, that would have been so good. Like the whole time I was watching it, I was like, it's Billy and the other guy, or Billy's mom and the other guy. And I was like, and it works and it's good. But like, now that you say it, damn it, I do kind of wish it was the weird sorority girls. They are here all of the time.
And they are weirdly passive aggressive the entire time. And maybe you're killing people to the sorority. Who knows? But not this story.
And so, you know, and that's the other issue is I think that even more than in that first movie, there were people that you knew were not the killer, but there were some people that were presented that were like, maybe. Whereas I think with Scream 2, they constantly are like, it's maybe these people. And I feel like they never really, until they get killed off, viably remove any options. They just kind of leave a lot of doors open, like constantly.
Well, I agree to an extent, right? I
Mhm.
think the whole idea for Scream 2 is to make it so that anyone is a suspect. They keep saying
Yeah.
it. You know, Dewey says it so much to Randy, like anyone's a suspect. Oh, well, you're a suspect. And it does a great job at making you think, like, did their trauma from surviving this past event cause them to go crazy and, you know, repeat and become a serial killer? So I thought that was great. I think, you know, Timothy Oliphant's reveal as being this killer, I thought was very weird. I still think it's kind of weird how he got hooked up with Billy Loomis's mom. So she works perfectly.
She works, yeah.
Even if we, you know, we see her randomly throughout the movie. But I think you're right. I think we needed someone. I don't know if the sorority sisters would have been my pick, but I can see that argument because there's just not a lot of screen presence for them. You know, I really do wish that they would have just said, yes, some people process trauma very positively, but some of them process it very negatively. And here's this survivor who did succumb to this trauma and became the thing that they were fighting in the first film. So looking back in retrospect, I think it would have been more interesting to have a survivor from the first film kind of go rogue and be a killer.
And it would make sense for it, honestly, to be Randy. Like of all the survivors, I think Randy would be the most logical one of them.
Yeah.
And poor Randy was just trying to get a girlfriend in this entire movie. Like that was it. That was his main goal. It was like he was gonna get laid this time.
Yeah.
Scream 3 I like, and going back and rewatching it, I was like, it's really interesting how openly
it's my
this
second
movie...
favorite opening of the Scream series. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to talk
you're
about
fine.
that.
I really enjoyed well, not enjoyed, but I found it interesting how open it is about like sexual violence as being, something that happened in the Hollywood industry, rampantly for years. And I thought that it was interesting how that film like had it very openly out there, like, all the way back in
And wasn't it a Weinstein
2000.
production?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I think it was.
So it
Yeah.
feels pretty
Self-aware?
pointed.
I said self-aware.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just gonna
um,
write this character in here called Harvey. You cool with that?
And so I think that was the thing that I find the most interesting about that. Also, I think that on a certain level, Wes Craven, even himself, was like, man, I don't know how to make this one really scary anymore. Let's make it goofy. And on a
There's
certain
Jay and
level,
Silent Bob.
it's almost a scary movie, like in the Scream franchise, but I love it. I think it's weird, but I really enjoy it.
They
I'm actually,
immediately lose the horror after
yeah.
Lee Schreiber's character is killed. Like as soon
Mhm.
as that opening scene is done, it becomes this weird like movie that doesn't know what it wants to be. It's an identity crisis of a
Yeah.
film because you have Sidney Prescott's mom, Maureen Prescott. She's like walking around and she's like all zombified up and everything like that. And I remember being creeped out as a kid watching this because I'm just like, oh, she's creepy looking. But then like, looking back on it, I'm like, man, that makes no sense. This
Mhm.
movie makes no sense. It is wild. And then it goes off the rails bananas once they really start getting into the Stab series and how Sydney and all the real life people are interacting with the actors of themselves. And yeah, it's a wild movie.
Yeah. It's pretty out there. It's fun, but it's not necessarily good.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
it's fun. I think it's a great word.
I will say that I quite enjoyed it as an actor. These like weird like actors like trying to absorb as much character as they could from the real person. I was like, this really happens and it's really weird. I'm glad we're talking about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I hadn't seen
Um,
it in a while, so I would love to go back and rewatch that one. I always watch 1 and 2, and
mhm.
I always skip 3 and 4 just because I'm like,
You should hit them up again.
maybe I don't know. I still haven't watched Dune. Like I don't have a lot of time.
No, yeah.
I mean, we haven't watched it either yet, so
But that's
we're
because we've
kind
been
of
committed to other
Yeah,
October
things.
has other things in it to watch.
you guys have been watching the trashiest of the trash, and I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
And so
Mm.
honestly, I'm odd man out here. I actually quite enjoy Scream 4 a lot.
Hmm.
I really liked it. So Matt and I watched like Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 3, and then we ended up seeing Scream 4 in theaters. And I really dug it. I thought that it was scarier again than the first, or than the third one. I thought that we finally got at least a little bit more intense again. And I don't know, for me it landed. I enjoyed the sort of reboot-quel thing that they did. And I was also good with the idea of that one like being the last one also. I was like, if this
Right.
is how it ends, then like, you know what, I'm good with this. This would be a fine place for it to stop. I'm excited for the upcoming one, but um it definitely, I think, is trying to, I think the thing that makes Scream 4 a little bit less interesting than some of the other ones, I will say this, is probably the fact that like it doesn't seem quite as aware. It pulls back on like some of the ways that it's aware. Other than that opening and the mention of the Stab sequels, they don't really talk about like the reboot era, really, like I think as cleverly as they do in the other films.
Yeah.
They talk about it, but then they end up really just like sticking themselves right into those tropes exactly
Yeah.
as well. And I think that it does hamper it a little bit.
Right.
But I like
Well,
Scream 4.
it was 10 years, right? It took 10 years for Scream 4 to come out after Scream 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it's 2000 and then 2011.
Yeah, so now we have 11 years later, Scream 5, which I think is just kind of interesting.
Mhm.
It'll be 26 years, I think, since Scream 1. New director, Radio Silence is doing it, which I'm very excited about because they make really good content. And I want to know real fast too, we don't know how this is going to go. How would you guys want Scream 5 to go? Like if you had to just give me a quick little pitch off the top of your head on what you would do with Scream 5 from the opening. I want to know your opening, and then I just want to know kind of like your overarching idea for Scream 5. What would it be? I'm putting you guys on the spot here. I'm hijacking your podcast.
Well, I think for me, I think you have to find a way to kill off some sort of legacy baby in the opening. I think that that's one of the things that you almost kind of have to do. We're introducing a new, fresh cast, obviously. But I think that if we're going back and doing this kind of almost like a Halloween 2018 kind of thing, then I want to go in and I want to kill off a legacy baby, I think, kind of in the opening. And that's also my kind of Drew Barrymore moment. Then I think I have one of my survivors be the killer, is my big overarching thing.
So you would do like I would do for 2, but save it for 5. Yeah.
And I would make it Dewey.
Mm-hmm.
And since he lost the limp in 4, but has it, back in the new one, I would make it that like his return of the limp is like an intentional fake out, and that he actually is moving fine.
Interesting.
And I would have like some of these things like be false leads, and I would make Dewey one of my main antagonists. I don't know who the second one would be. Probably one of the new cast members, or the surprise reveal if I wanted to, and this would maybe irritate some people. I would try and bring someone back from the dead if I could. Maybe Timothy Oliphant.
Like they had a fake out death previously because sequels do that.
Yeah, but I think that it would definitely be Dewey, and then it would be someone else. Honestly, probably just a new character. And I think that I would definitely kill Sidney Prescott.
Yeah, to kind of like really pass off the mantle to whomever they're gonna like, the new it girl would be. I hope that this is just kind of like that we don't continue on to like Scream 10 and at this rate, but kind of end it with the death of our main girl, the one that we followed this entire time, would be interesting. I think because also she's the it girl has to be of like, I guess like a certain age range, and like she's had her whole run, and this is kind of like passing off of the mantle. I guess I'm kind of hoping like for a few of the same things that I guess you are as well, but like I'm hoping that they commit more fully, I guess, to this whole pass off of the whole thing, instead of it being like, how in the 4th one it's the it's the cousin, she wants to be the ingenue, she wants to be the lead girl, so she's making all of the things for herself. Like I wanted to fully commit to it not being really related to Sydney at all, honestly.
I've got another option for you.
Okay.
This one just sort of cropped into my head. You turn it into a sort of group psychosis thing where it's like this like social media kind of like a TikTok trend almost thing, where you end up having like a slew of ghost face at the end.
And they're using like apps or something to communicate and stuff.
And do the voice and all of that.
Yeah, it has to be modern. It's all a game. It's how they do in one of the Halloweens where it's all just like a game show.
Yeah, kind of like that kind of thing.
I'm checked out. And here's your killer, T-Pain. T-Pain's going to kill Ghostface.
And so it's like, maybe it's like like by the end of the movie, there are like, 20 people who are all Ghostface.
Yeah, and they wanted to create like the perfect ending. Was like it was all of us the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Bum bum bum.
And they all 20 of them live stream like a Caesar stabbing
I mean,
of Sidney Prescott.
I like what they're doing, I guess, so far with it. I'll be curious to see what the whole thing ends up being. I enjoyed the trailer with the whole like nods to the original, but also modernizing it with like adding technology into it to make make the scary more here and now again. So I'm curious though to see like where they take it from there, honestly.
Yeah, because the 2018 Halloween definitely works as both a complete endpoint story, but also as a point to start the story anew. And I think that they're probably aiming for that with this, which is why I think that they abandoned the number, is because I think that there is this kind of idea that it's meant to be either or.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious, but those are my two pitches.
Do you have any?
Do you have anything?
ideas?
So I would love for the film to open. And the thing is I think as a writer, you have to be aware that you can piss off your audience. There's a line that you can't really cross, right? But there has to be stakes. So I do agree that one character has to die, right? One legacy character. I think you just have to do that. But I would do two.
Okay.
I would open with Dewey and Gale, and maybe even a third character that we've never really seen before, and they get killed. Ghostface kills them both in the opening scene. And then you take away everyone who Sidney Prescott has, her safety net is gone. And it's her and maybe a police investigator who goes to her and is like, you're aware that you're probably next, right? Like you're the only one left from the 96 murders, the Woodsboro murders. And then it's almost kind of like a protecting, but also trying to figure an investigation, and maybe do it a little bit like Seven, David Fincher's Seven with Scream, where there's just a slew of murders that are like connected in some way to Sidney Prescott, and then end with Sidney Prescott dying, because I think that she has to die going forward. If you are introducing a new cast of characters, then you're right, she has to die. And that's passing off the mantle to whoever it is that she's involved herself with in this film. And you end it with like ambiguous, okay, now these people are a target. So kind of like taking the Final Destination 2 formula where they killed off Ali Larder, at the very end of that movie, and doing that to Sidney Prescott. Okay. I think that's just the only way forward at this point. It's the fifth film. Like
literally,
you have to do something drastic, and you ease the audience into it with the opening scene, and then by the end, they've accepted, okay, I know what we're doing, I know where we're going.
Yeah,
but also
that's what I would
guess
do.
This movie, like if it's going to be a Scream movie, also still has to be commentary on the genre as a whole, and so you still have to follow these reboot tropes in a sense. You gotta. You do have to kill off a good amount of my old blood, you know. That's because that's what happens.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Tropes.
It's the tropes. I mean, it's 26 years. You've done a great job at surviving. The past always comes back to get you.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a great way to end it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
But I am excited. I'm super excited for Scream.
Oh yeah. No, it looks great. I'm super pumped.
Did you watch the TV show?
A little bit of it. I watched like 3 or 4 episodes.
I watched like the entire first season, and then I didn't see the second season. And I was like, maybe I'll get back into it before the third season comes out. And then I found out that the third season was like a whole reboot of the show, where they were getting away from this new mythos and mask that they set up and going back to like a ghost face mask. And I was like, I don't want Ghostface directly the TV show. Like that's not
Right.
that's not what I'm here for either. I was more interested in the other thing that you were doing. So
I never saw the Ghostface mask in the show. I only saw the new face that they did.
yeah, season 3 they eventually like reintroduce the full-on Ghostface mask, and like they get rid of the entire season 1 and 2 story and cast, I believe, and just like restart.
Sucks to suck.
Yeah. So
But also, like, did you think that was going to work for you, you know, in actual practice? Like, you had fans, you built them up with all of this stuff, and regardless of the people who were complaining, you had already started something. You can't just throw that away and be like, just kidding, guys, we're going to do this whole different thing with the same title, because now you're going to lose all the fans that you had who liked your previous thing. So, what was the plan here?
I'm gonna take a shot real fast at Paul and say Halloween Kills did that. But that's all I'm gonna. That's my quick jab right there.
But no, and like I will say this randomly, you know, on a certain level, I think that you can get away with like doing changes and things like that. But I think that you have to build it in and sell your audience on it. And so like watching a lot of these franchises and things like that, like Friday the 13th is a build your own canon franchise. Like you can pick the 3 to 4 films from that franchise that you want and ignore the rest, and that's acceptable.
Exactly what I do.
That's what you should do, or else you're gonna go crazy.
Nightmare on Elm Street does like there are some that are in a canon, but some that aren't so much. So like you can kind of like follow a direct story, or again you can just kind of like watch the first one and then leave.
Yeah.
And Halloween on a certain level, I think especially because they broke the mold with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, have always had this kind of almost anthology take, even though it didn't work out, I think, the way that they originally intended it to.
Right.
Where, you know, people are constantly coming in and reinventing it.
Yeah,
all the
Michael's
time.
motivated by an astrological sign.
And he has a
An
tattoo.
evil one.
And he has a tattoo.
Mhm.
And there's a
Because-
cult. Yeah.
And there's a
they're
curse that
maybe
binds
witches.
someone to him as like his watcher caretaker person.
My favorite is the fact that they try so hard to make all of that shit relevant for
Mhm.
so long, and then they just go, we can't do it anymore, guys. Let's just start over a little bit.
Yeah.
Like they try so hard, where it's like, you know, especially Jason, they just go,
Yeah.
whatever, man. You get whatever flavor you want today, guys.
My favorite introduction for a character quirk for Jason is when they made him afraid of water in Jason Takes Manhattan. Loved that. Makes no sense whatsoever. He was in water in the movie. But when he sees running water, he freaks out. Yeah. It's wild.
Oh god.
And he teleports in that movie. And it's great. Love it.
I basically just love when they just turn him into a zombie.
Yeah.
They say fuck it to everything else, and they say he's just the undead. Okay.
But
Yeah.
for if people want more Scream films, then it definitely is going to have to go through some genesis. Even though I love Laurie Strode and Jamie Lee Curtis, and they have made her returns to the character work, I'm not sure that I want to watch Nev Campbell become 80 making Scream 15.
Or or we do.
No.
With
So
her walker,
I definitely,
I'm interested.
I'm game for the new movie. I'm curious to see what they do.
It's just a farce at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's revealed in Scream 10 that she was the killer in the 10th film, and she's 80, I would be happy. I would be so sold.
I'd be more
We actually go
interested.
back and reveal that she was the killer in all of them all along in
Yeah.
Scream 10. Mhm.
What a twist.
Mhm.
Palpatine has returned.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that happened. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Out of all of the, Sky mentioned it earlier, that Scream 3 was his favorite opening. What's your favorite cold opening from Scream, other than the first one, because that's
Right.
obviously the best one?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So the second one is
Jada Pinkett in the movie theater.
yes.
The
yes,
third
yes,
one is Liev Schreiber in traffic and his wife at home.
yes.
And the fourth one is the stab movie that's
That's
them watching that in real life.
Oh.
I really like the opener with Jada Pickett and with with Omar Epps. And it gets me, and I think that's the reason why I really like it, is because it gets me every single time, where I'm like, you're walking along the story, and I was like, they're not going to do the same thing twice. They're not going to kill Drew Barrymore twice for me. It's going to be fine. They're going to do something different here. And then they not only kill Jada, but they also kill Omar, and I fell right into the trap, and I hated it, and I loved it, and I think that's probably why it's my favorite.
Yeah.
I honestly love I think Jada Pinkett knows the exact right place of like horror movie camp realism to live in during the scene, where like when she screams out in pain in front of the crowd, it's both very effective but also just that little bit funny.
Oh yeah, and I love how sick and twisted it is, and the fact that like they're all cheering it on the whole time.
Yeah.
And they realize that like, wait, she's actually dead, and it kills me.
It's
What's
good
wild? What's wild about that too is that she was coming off of Demon Knight, Tales from the Crypt movie from '95, where she survives like so much, and you really do. You get the fake out with Omar Epps getting killed in the bathroom, and you're like, okay, it's probably done. She's gonna leave the theater. She's gonna think that he left her or something. I don't know, but no, they kept going. And they're like, yeah, not just one person's gonna die here. We're gonna kill both people.
And I think that they do such a good job, because also with the Stab movie coming out, there's so many people in the same costume. You don't know who the killer is going to be, because there's so many suspects.
Yeah.
And and that's also why they end up thinking that it's a part of the show.
Yeah.
So good.
It is. And you can see that happening today, like with Rocky Horror Picture Show performances. You get really into it, especially with costumes.
Yeah.
I love the moment in the bathroom when like he goes in and like the two on the urinals like turn simultaneously. Like it's so perfect.
Isn't that your first clue too, that there's two killers? They're both in there. Yeah, it's all there. And that's what makes these movies, I think, really great, is you can go back and you can find all these hints, that there are two killers or there is one killer or whatever, like you can really go back and there are clues that you can pick up, little breadcrumbs.
Yeah, they've figured out the whole thing before they've even started, and you can tell. Whereas like a lot of these other franchises, you can tell that they didn't do that and are just guessing with literal pages in the script. Like and now we're at this point and it doesn't feel connected at all. Where these just feel so comfortable because they are so just beginning to end, one whole story. I can watch it and feel satisfied at the end instead of going, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
So, if you had to rank them, all four of the Scream films, how would you rank them?
1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 5, 4. No, I don't know.
Okay.
What about you? What about you two?
I think I'm gonna have to second that. I think that they are just kind of like lesser and lesser with each go around. Like I still enjoy them, but like I think that the first one is solid. The second one is like just under, and like the other two are just like fucking trying to catch up.
Don't leave me behind.
No, literally.
I think I'll go 1, 2, 4, 3.
Okay.
Ghost Mom really pulls me out of 3 so much.
But you don't like the fact that she went onto killers.com?
No. The Ghost Mom in the third one.
Oh, right.
Yes. Ghost Mama Prescott really pulls me out every time. And
weird.
honestly, I I really hate that it was just the one killer at the end, you know? I know that that's like
Who's her brother, right?
Yeah, her surprise brother, because her mom had a kid when she was out in LA trying to be an actor, and he felt discarded, and so he came back, and then he's the one that helped arrange for Billy Loomis to realize that Sydney was having sex with Loomis's dad, which led to Loomis killing the mom and going on his whole murder spree. So they also go back and like do this whole reveal that like her brother was also the cause of the first movie.
But like, let's not talk about the fact that that took a lot of work on his part to become like a famous fucking director and shit and do all of this. He's on like he's like making movies actively, and this is all just a plot to kill his sister.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's probably my ranking for them.
If I could remember 4, I may agree with you, but I just don't remember. Also, I do want to point out real fast too the importance of names, and I think having a character's last name be Loomis when we have the most iconic doctor in a film series, Dr. Loomis, I think is a very good nod to the genre itself in the slasher films.
Oh yeah, very aware. I love it.
No, I think that this was a great discussion. Thank you for coming on and talking about it. I'm sorry that your professor didn't agree with your opinion, because honestly, it's a fantastic film.
Yeah.
For 12 pages on one movie, and he's like, nah, I don't really care. But he's an American history scholar. He's an American history of film scholar, so I understand.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it is arguable that it may not be the best horror movie, but I think it is the best thriller.
Yeah.
I think I can successfully say that. See, I don't know. He may not agree with that. Dale, if you're listening, please let me know your thoughts.
You can email us at thefilmbuds. No, I'm only kidding. But no, yeah. Thank you for coming on as always. The weekly pop-up there, the podcast that Sky is affiliated with, and I'll link that as I always do in the episode description.
Candyman, 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 Candyman.
Candyman, flesh and blood? I'm afraid not.
But he lives in the mirror.
You say his name 5 times, he's supposed to come.
That's how he gets you.
You guys don't really believe that, do you?
So that was Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh.
Such an erotic title.
The premise is the Candyman arrives in New Orleans and sets his sights on a young woman whose family was ruined by the immortal killer years before. It was directed by Bill Condon. It was written by Rand Ravitch and Mark Kruger. And it stars Tony Todd as the Candyman, Kelly Rowan, Carolyn Barclay, David Giannopoulos, and Dear, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Honestly, can you take this one away?
Okay. The Candyman, so the first Candyman, for a recap, is essentially the reveal that there was this man who was in a relationship with a white woman, and he was tortured and murdered because of that. He had his hand cut off and replaced with a hook, and he was stung to death. And at, in the first one, it's this woman, Helen Lyle, who ends up getting caught up in the whole thing, and she ends up becoming Candyman, right? She kind of ends up going through this downward spiral into crime, where then she becomes an urban legend, just like all of the other crime that comes out of the projects, essentially. Mm-hmm. And the second one, they change locations entirely, and this one is definitely on a lot of levels about essentially, like, coming to terms with like your family's racial identity and like on a certain level reparations of a kind. Because it's revealed that there are descendants of Candyman and of the woman that he was in a relationship with, and the mother tried to hide it while the father tried to sort of figure out more about it and also break the curse of the Candyman. And it's really good. Like it's a good sequel as far as especially, you know, the horror sequels go. It does the classic thing of trying to deepen the killer's mythos. You know, and it's definitely, the first movie is such a slow burn that, you know, part of the way into it you almost do wonder if there really is like a mystical killer. Whereas this one, like, you definitely jump into it pretty quickly. Candyman makes his presence known very early by killing a character from the previous film. And I like this one a lot. Like, it's a good sequel.
No, yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's so weird, I guess, the weird choice that this franchise decided to take was focusing on their descendants, but it always it being just another white woman with blonde hair. And I find that was really, really fascinating because of the fact that they're not even that far away from his genetics. And I know that like genes can like work in mysterious ways, but like you're telling me that nobody knew after that point. They were like, let's just put it hush hush.
Well, you know, she like ran away and like was never seen again.
Well, yeah, but like, so she's telling the child that she had with a black man that child has no black ancestry, and they just continued that lie through the ages.
I guess, and that also, to be fair, this movie does also make the classic sequel issue of like deepening the mythos, but not really like checking to see how well this new understanding fits in with the information we have. Kind of like the same issue of Halloween 2 revealing that Laurie Strode is Michael's sister.
Yeah.
You know, like, cool. And, you know, like,
yeah.
It doesn't, and it also doesn't really fit in because it was like, why? How? You know, it's very convenient.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, like, it is really convenient, I guess, that, like, they are related. I wish it was kind of like that, you know, anyone can call on Candyman. He's kind of like, you know, Bloody Mary. It's a story that children tell, and like it doesn't really necessarily need to be related to him in any way, shape, or form for it to be meaningful. But it definitely takes the trope of like, and it's because we're related that I'm also haunting you, and that's the main crux of the whole thing. But, you know, all of that aside, I do really enjoy this movie. I do think that it is a really good sequel to the original Candyman. I kind of just want the whole franchise and in general to have gone in a different direction, but like they stuck with this, and like they do stick, you know.
Yeah. You know, I think that the performances here are as good as they were in the last one. You know, the first one was not necessarily one where I was really drawn in by. Although, honestly, Virginia Madsen, you know what? The first one does still probably have technically slightly better performances, but I think that as far as horror sequels go, the performances here are pretty good. The lead woman, Kelly Rowan, does a good job, I think, with the part, especially compared to, like, the woman in the third one.
Oh, yeah, no, the model that they that they gave lines to.
I think the thing that is very interesting about the Candyman franchise, more so than some of the others, is how much they're trying to make social commentary very overtly a part of their text. And some movies in the franchises do that more than others. But like every Candyman movie is reaching for some sort of, especially, you know, race-related subtext. And I think that it, going to your point, you know, about it being like the blonde women, you know, I think that you can definitely see moments throughout the first three films where they're going and using these blonde women as a way to specifically highlight some sort of, journey into this world that, like, the white audience might not realize and understand.
No, yeah, and we were talking about this earlier today. I really feel like as a black woman, I don't, I guess, look at this franchise and go, "Oh, this was a message that was for me to learn." No, this is a message about the lineage that we all kind of carry on our backs, that is being shoved in a completely different demographic's face and being like, "Will you pay attention, please?" And like I really enjoy the fact that we have a black slasher, but I also don't enjoy the fact that, like, it's not celebrating blackness as like a good thing. It's almost like a, look at what you've made blackness become.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Well, and also, they do with, usually whenever Tony Todd does show up, they don't use him, I think, as effectively as they could. He's doing so much with the part.
Oh yeah, he's doing a phenomenal
job. Every time he's on screen, he's great, but it's like, I wish that I had gotten more of you throughout the movie. And like, even in the second one, you get more of him than you did in the first one, but I found his screen time more effective in the first one than it was in some of the subsequent sequels.
Yeah, because it is still, like, it is about these final women at the end of the day, and whereas, like, for the other slashers, I always felt like they were the reason why I was coming to watch the movie. Like, I watch Halloween for Michael Myers, and Laurie Strode, but it's not just about her. And I feel like with Candyman, I'm always getting Candyman as, like, a reactionary thing to somebody else, somebody else's story.
No, I get that. And it's a great example, by the way, of, like, what I'm talking about when I say, like, they put white people through, like, experiences that they might not be familiar with, There's a moment in Candyman, Farewell to the Flesh, where the main woman's brother is also obsessed with this whole thing, and he's been blamed for his father's murder, and he's in there with an officer who's roughing him up, and the officer gets killed by Candyman and chucked out of a window to where everyone knows that there's, like, something that's happened, and cops rush up to the interrogation room to react, and when they open up the door, the brother goes running out, and the cop is like, "Freeze!" and he says it once, and then he shoots him, like, 3 times in the back, and he falls down the stairs. And so I think that they're intentionally going out of their way to, across the entire franchise, put white people in these kind of positions where they're at the helplessness of the law on a certain level. And I think that is also one of the more interesting things that this franchise does. I don't know how rewatchable some of the sequels are. I'm not sure that, like, Candyman 2 is one that you really, like, go back to a lot. I'll probably go back to Candyman 1 and maybe even the 2021 Candyman more often, I think, than I will probably Farewell to the Flesh and definitely Day of the Dead.
Yeah, no, I'll second that for sure. Day of the Dead is where we we strained out a lot of the substance of what the first one had, and then just, like, caught on to all of the things that made it a cliche slasher movie, and was like, so we'll just put a really hot chick in the lead, and that'll be all that she needs to do, is just be really hot, and then we'll throw Candyman in here, and he'll just, like, sex up the scenes every time he comes in, and that's it.
And we're gonna set it in, like, a Hispanic neighborhood in LA, and what was really great for me about Day of the Dead, actually, hold on, before I get too down this rabbit hole, out of 5 real quickly on Farewell to the Flesh, I'm gonna go with, like, a 3.
I think that's fair. I think that I'll second that, yeah.
Okay. So in Day of the Dead, they set it in a Hispanic neighborhood in LA, and they have all this Day of the Dead stuff and then that kind of thing, which is fine, but what I really enjoyed was that, one, our lead character didn't speak any kind of Spanish at all. 2, we didn't really have, like, a strong, I guess, like, Hispanic secondary character at any point in it. I guess it was supposed to be the guy. Yes, it's the guy. The actor.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah,
what
yeah.
I really enjoyed the most about this movie was watching it with subtitles on. Because when characters actually were, like, speaking Spanish, it just said, like, speaking Spanish. But then someone would be like, you know, this is my abuela. Hola, abuela. And, like, that would be, you know, in subtitles. Or certain simple sentences, you know, like, como estas would be, like, in subtitles. But I really enjoyed that the moment that, like, anyone really started, like, saying lines in Spanish, the subtitles were just like, and tapping out, it's words in Spanish.
No, literally, it felt like, you know, like your first semester of Spanish 1 in high school, where you only know, like, hello and goodbye, and then it was like, and it got way too complicated here. We're done. We're done. Speaking in Spanish, all of this bit.
And that movie also, more than any of the other ones, is very ham-fisted. It's very graceless, and it's really just showing that these atrocities happen. It doesn't have anything going on, anything deeper really to say. It's just like, and here's the horrible racist cop who at the end ends up, like, becoming Candyman, but also I think that they should have taken that bite earlier in the movie by a lot.
No, yeah, I think that this movie just did kind of the formula again, but, like, instead of it being, like, the black neighborhood, the black hood, you know, it was the Hispanic neighborhood, it was the Hispanic hood, and, like, that's pretty much all that changed about it. And the formula was just the same after that, you know, people were still being haunted by Candyman, and I do agree, I do think that they should have just made the racist cop, you know, into their Candyman-esque figure, instead of doing the same thing that the first one did, which was like, maybe it's the chick the whole time. Like, come on, like, they were like, cops are bad people with this guy alone, and goodness gracious, I don't know how he truly had a job.
Yeah, and you know, they finally have him literally show up at the crime scene with probably under 10 minutes left of the third act of the whole movie. And he shows up, picks up the hook, and goes, "I'm the Candyman now." And then he gets shot by the black cop from behind, and they're just like, "All right, we're gonna pin it all on him." And the chick is like, "He was the Candyman," you know, because she wants to attach the Candyman legacy onto something more evil.
Yeah, because she is also a descendant of
to also now get rid of the full legacy of the original Candyman.
Yeah, I don't know what
okay.
I don't know what they were reaching for with this one.
Cops are bad.
Yeah, and they nailed it.
Well, and they also do this thing of like, oh, to get rid of his legacy, they do this thing of like, Candyman has now become too evil of a legacy that, like, you can't even remember his good things. And maybe that's kind of what they're aiming for, is like almost like a romanticizing of the past. Like, here's this woman who has this relative that people claim is responsible for all of this killing, but she wants to be like, no, he was just a painter, and she has to kind of like own up to and destroy the memory of, like, even what was good about him to reconcile.
Interesting. I think that if she were a better actor, I might have gotten half of what
and maybe
you just
I'm
said.
just reaching deeper in than what the movie intended.
I think that this movie was really ambitious. I think that it really missed it, though, like, on every level.
Well, I'll say this, though. I still find Day of the Dead, I think, better than, like, some of the other films that we watched as well.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, if we're gonna weigh Day of the Dead then against against multiple Friday the 13th movies, I prefer it. This movie is watchable. I just mean, as it stands on its own, it is a mess.
Yeah. And then there's one more sequel, which is, of course, the sort of reboot-quel thing that we've been going through, you know, Halloween, Scream, Candyman, where we go back and kind of pick up the story and retcon out things. And this is more a story about kind of... Honestly, at a certain level, this is really a story about reclaiming black narratives at large, because also this is the first Candyman movie to make the lead characters
black.
And so really on a certain level, this whole movie just at large is about sort of, I think, a certain amount of reclaiming of black narratives, and also about using some of those narratives that other people use as urban legends or as tales of tragedy and woe, but nothing more, as something that's meant to ultimately systemically, or not systemically, but ultimately turn around and attack the system that attacked it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's a pretty good sequel. I still don't think that I like it as much as the first one.
No, I think that the first one is where they really hit the stride, and I do like the sequel a lot. I mean, not the sequel, I guess the reboot is what what I'll call it. I do like the reboot more than I like, Day of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it does take the narrative kind of back in and reclaim it, because there is this part at the end where it reminded me a lot of the Black Lives Matters movement that was happening, I guess, a year and a half ago now, that was all about, like, say their names, speak their names, and when one of the characters at the end is like, they've all become the Candyman, but, like, we have to remember, each of their legacies. Kind of is basically, a rough overview of his monologue.
Yeah, because essentially, like, people don't recognize how far back the tragedies go. They just go back to whoever that person was to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about realizing that, Emmett Till and, George Floyd and all of these figures that we talk about as, like, specific incidences are all part of one greater narrative that is still at play.
Yeah, and I think that if that's the thesis statement of this movie, then I think that they nailed it. But I think that that message gets bogged down by a lot of, like, visual flair and, like, modern niceties that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I would want more of what the message truly was, because, like, from surface level, it feels like just watching this man kind of, like, slowly dissolve into what fate has told him he was going to already be, and it's kind of a bummer.
That's interesting.
Because, like, I guess for me, it feels like,
especially since he is kind of like a legacy baby.
Yeah, exactly. The system put this stamp on him as a black man that he was going to get shot by the cops because he was going to do something wrong because of all of these things. And, like, it kind of literally falls into that spot, He ends up getting accused of all of these things, whether or not, like, he is the person who did them or not, spoilers, when he gets shot at the end, he is bleeding out already in his girlfriend's arms, and he's completely, without fault at that moment. And so, like, it feels very much like it was always going to be like this because it has always been like this. And it kind of bummed me out a little bit.
Well, and honestly, on a certain level, that was all by, Burke's very much intentional design. At the end of the day, Burke really is the bad guy of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
On a certain level, he is the Candyman. He is the one that even at the very end is seen visually with the candy with the razors in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's almost a Frankenstein, making a Frankenstein's monster of very intentional purpose.
No, yeah.
He's almost, honestly, as we were sitting here talking about it, he's almost kind of like Dr. Sartain.
Oh,
from
yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah.
He's this guy who has this desire to use this narrative that is other people's narrative to their own ends, for what they want from these narratives.
Mm-hmm.
And so they manipulate things and go and ultimately create the monster that they were looking for.
No, yeah.
For different ends and purposes and themes and motifs, but similar ideas of people weaponizing, myth.
Yeah. And I guess I don't know. Maybe this movie deserves a rewatch for me. After the first watch though, I felt a little on the fence of what they were truly intending for this movie to tell me versus what it actually told me.
That's fair. And I've been kind of like mentally picking at it. Because it's definitely been one that I've been thinking about more than some of the other sequels that we've watched. And it's definitely one that I'm more curious, and for those who want to know, we ranked these as well, and we went the first Candyman 21, the rebootquel, Farewell to the Flesh, Candyman 2, and then Day of the Dead, Candyman 3, in fourth. And so I think that this one is one that I do want to revisit for sure.
Because, like, also, this movie did have some pretty bitchin' visuals. I really loved the whole, like, he can only be seen through the mirrors. I think they really leaned into all of the things.
I wish we had shown that it was more people beforehand. I wish that when more people had seen Candyman, to also kind of, earlier on, hint at this idea that Candyman is more than one thing.
Yes, I do agree with that. But I did really enjoy this kind of like mirror, like, because that's how you call him, and none of the other movies really focus on the mirror being like almost like his realm of existence. And I really liked that. I thought that was a really cool play on it, and honestly, I liked the lean into the whole like candy and the razor blades and the candy motif in this one specifically. Not just the fact that he had bees, but the fact that the whole thing can be kind of almost like whatever and whomever you want it to be at a certain point. He's the candy man. He's the person that your parents tell you don't talk to,
No, for sure. Overall, I think if I had to rank all of the slasher franchises, I would go Halloween, Scream, Candyman. No, Halloween, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Candyman, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Maybe I'd switch them a little bit. I don't know. For me, Nightmare and Candyman are kind of a tie.
Yeah. I'm gonna second that as well. I'd say, because at the end of the day, I think that Freddy is always, for the most part, like the star. He's the thing that's keeping people up at night, and I think that Candyman is a little bit more vague of who we should be focused on. Yeah, and no, I agree.
Okay. Honestly, I think that's kind of gonna be where we call it for this episode, since it's already been split up in two. If you again came through and listened to part 2 first, please go back and listen to part 1. We wanted to do this for y'all as a big celebration of Halloween. Halloween is our favorite holiday. It is also this Halloween our 1-year wedding anniversary. We got married Halloween 2020. So it's a big holiday for us, and so we'll always do it up special. We may not quite do it up this big next year. This was ambitious. Or if we do it this big, I'll plan better.
Yeah.
But we wanted to give y'all something really big and really special as a big final hoorah for this month. And for a genre and time of year that we love, and for a holiday that means the world to us. So, honestly, from the bottom of both our hearts, we wish y'all a very happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween. Stay safe. Eat lots of candy, if that's your thing.
Or if you don't want to, that's also fine. We're gonna go out and be camping.
Yeah.
And celebrating some time away from screens.
Yes.
But yeah,
40 movies.
Yeah. You guys have a good one. Like Lauren said, stay safe, and be sure to check in with us next week. I'll drop everyone's socials down below. Follow us, Instagram, Twitter. Again, I'll have all those details in the description below. Have a good weekend, you guys. We'll talk to you all next week. Bye.
Bye.